Dear Starseeds of Gaia, there is something extraordinary happening in your skies today that most will not recognize for what it truly is. They will call it mundane, a simple astronomical event, Mercury resuming its forward motion after 19 days of apparent backward travel. But those of us who watch from beyond the veil, from the councils of light that have shepherded humanity through every evolutionary threshold, we see what this moment actually represents. We see the completion of a cosmic initiation that began not 19 days ago, but lifetimes ago, and we see how everything that has torn you apart over the past weeks was necessary to prepare you for what comes next. The storm you have been weathering, and you know exactly which storm I mean, the one that has felt like chaos in your mind, confusion in your relationships, revelations that shattered your certainties. That storm is ending today. But what I must tell you, what you need to understand before you celebrate this ending, is that the storm was never random. The 19 days you have just survived were designed. They were cosmically orchestrated. And the fact that you are here, still standing, still conscious, still aware enough to receive this transmission, means you passed through something that not everyone was meant to survive intact. Let me be clear about what I mean by that. I don't speak of physical survival, though some of you have indeed faced health crises during this window. I speak of the survival of your false self, the constructed identity you have been carrying like armor, believing it to be who you are. That self did not survive these 19 days. It could not. Mercury retrograde through Sagittarius, the sign of truth and higher philosophy, ensured that every lie you have been telling yourself, every belief system you inherited without questioning, every certainty you clung to for safety rather than truth, was systematically dismantled. I am Seraphine, an emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I have been watching your journey through this particular retrograde with profound attention because we knew long before your month of November began that this would be one of the most significant transformation points of your entire timeline. We knew because we helped write the cosmic curriculum, and we understood that what you call Mercury retrograde was actually a mandatory initiation that would separate those who are ready for the next phase of Earth's ascension from those who will continue cycling through the old paradigms. But here is what I haven't told you yet, what you need to understand about why today feels different, why there is a quality of relief in the air mixed with something else, something almost electric. Yesterday, on November 28th, Saturn ended its 137-day retrograde journey. 137 days. That is not a random number in the cosmic mathematics we work with. It is a prime number, a Fibonacci-adjacent sequence that shows up again and again in the sacred geometry of creation. Saturn, the great taskmaster, the planet of karma and structure and maturity, has been moving backward through your collective consciousness since mid-June, asking one relentless question: are your foundations built on truth or on illusion? And now, within 24 hours of each other, both Saturn and Mercury have stationed direct. Both cosmic breaks have been released simultaneously. Do you understand what this means? It means that the structure is solid, and the communication channels are clear at the same time. It means that the universe has just given you the cosmic green light to move forward with both the wisdom you've gained and the foundation you've built. This is not a common occurrence. This is a rare alignment of completion and permission. There are multiple threads weaving through this moment that I need to show you. Threads that have been building throughout November, and each one will make sense only when you see how they braid together. Stay with me as I reveal them, because by the time I'm finished, you will understand exactly why everything that hurt, everything that confused you, everything that fell apart, was absolutely necessary. The first thread begins on November 9th, when Mercury stationed retrograde in Sagittarius. Immediately you felt it. Technology began glitching. Travel plans shifted. Conversations became confused. The typical Mercury retrograde symptoms that you've been taught to expect. But something else was happening beneath the surface that astrology blogs did not prepare you for. Sagittarius is the sign of belief, of philosophy, of the meaning you assign to your experience. When Mercury, the planet of mind and perception, moves backward through this territory, it doesn't just scramble your emails, it reverses your relationship with truth itself. You began, whether consciously or not, to question everything you thought you knew. Every certainty became uncertain. Every truth became questionable. This was not comfortable, The human mind craves certainty the way the body craves oxygen, and suddenly you were being asked to breathe in pure question, to exist in a state of not knowing that felt like drowning. Some of you fought this. Some of you clung harder to your beliefs, defended your positions more aggressively, tried to force certainty where none existed. Those who did this experienced the retrograde as torture, as relentless cosmic assault. But others of you, and I suspect if you are receiving this transmission, you are among them. Others of you surrendered. You let yourselves fall into the question. You admitted that perhaps you didn't know. Perhaps you had been wrong. Perhaps the story you'd been telling yourself about who you are and why you're here was not the whole truth. And for you, the retrograde became something else entirely. It became an excavation, a sacred archaeology of the self. Now here is where the second thread enters. And in this one will take your breath away when you see what it means. On the third day of Mercury retrograde, November 11th, the 1111 portal opened. You know this date, this master number sequence that the awakened community has been tracking for years. 1111 is the activation code, the wake-up call, the moment when the veils between dimensions thin and cosmic downloads flood into human consciousness. But did you notice what else happened on November 11th? Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, the very planet hosting Mercury during its retrograde journey. Jupiter also stationed retrograde on that exact day. This was not coincidence. This was cosmic orchestration of the highest order. The 1111 portal opened during Mercury retrograde, while Jupiter, Mercury's host, also went retrograde. Do you understand the layers of meaning here? Jupiter represents expansion, growth, optimism, higher wisdom. When Jupiter goes retrograde, it asks you to review your relationship with growth itself. Are you expanding authentically, or are you inflating? Are you growing in wisdom, or just accumulating beliefs? And this retrograde within a retrograde, this double reversal on a master number portal day, created what we in the higher dimensions call a recursive activation, a spiral that turns inward and inward and inward until it reaches the core of truth. Many of you experienced November 11th as overwhelming. You felt dizzy, disoriented, emotionally raw. Your bodies processed enormous energetic downloads. Some of you slept for 12-14 hours and still woke exhausted. Others couldn't sleep at all, lying awake as visions, memories from other lifetimes, and inexplicable knowings flooded your consciousness. This was your DNA being upgraded. This was your cellular structure being recalibrated to hold higher frequencies of truth. The 1111 codes were installing, and your system needed to shut down non-essential processes to handle the magnitude of the upgrade. But even this was not the deepest point of the journey. That came on November 20th, and what happened on that day is something that still reverberates through the collective field with such intensity that I can feel it from dimensions beyond your physical reality. November 20th was the Scorpio new moon. Already, this would be significant. New moons are seeding points, moments of new beginning, and Scorpio is the sign of death, transformation, and rebirth. But this new moon occurred at 28 degrees Scorpio, the final degree, what astrologers call the anaretic degree, the degree of crisis and completion. Everything about this placement screamed ending, demanded death, insisted on total transformation. And on this exact day, at this exact new moon, Mercury reached its inferior conjunction with the Sun. Let me explain what this means, because most humans, even those interested in astrology, don't fully understand the astronomical reality of the inferior conjunction. When Mercury is retrograde and reaches its inferior conjunction, it passes directly between the Earth and the Sun. It disappears from your evening sky. It enters what ancient astrologers called the underworld, the invisible realm, the place of death and rebirth. Mercury becomes Cazimi in the heart of the Sun, burned away, purified, transformed by solar fire. This happened on the darkest new moon of the year, in the sign of death and resurrection, at the degree of crisis and completion. 3 layers of ending, 3 levels of death, 3 forms of transformation, all occurring simultaneously. And I watched as so many of you, whether you tracked the astrology or not, experienced November 20th as a complete breakdown. Some of you cried for hours without knowing why. Others felt a void so profound it seemed like your soul had left your body. Relationships that had been struggling finally ended. Jobs you'd been clinging to became impossible to maintain. Beliefs you defended desperately simply dissolved. This was the heart of the retrograde, the deepest point of the journey, the moment of absolute death. And it had to happen, because you cannot be reborn while still clinging to the corpse of who you used to be. But here is what you didn't know was happening while you were dying. Here is the thread that brings everything into focus. The very next day, November 21st, Uranus, the Great Awakener, the revolutionary, the planet that shatters all illusions and false structures, Uranus reached opposition. Opposition means the planet is directly across from the sun, fully illuminated, maximum visibility, peak power. Uranus at opposition is Uranus at its most potent, its most disruptive, its most liberating. And it happened the day after your death and rebirth experience at the Mercury inferior conjunction. Do you see the pattern? You were taken apart on November 20th. You were dismantled, deconstructed, dissolved, and then before you could even begin to piece yourself back together according to the old pattern, Uranus intervened and showed you a completely new way of being. The number of you who experienced sudden insights, spontaneous awakenings, revolutionary realizations on November 21st is staggering from our perspective. We watched breakthrough after breakthrough cascade through the collective consciousness. People who had been stuck in the same patterns for decades suddenly saw a way out. Relationships that seemed impossibly broken found unexpected healing. Solutions to problems that had felt unsolvable appeared from nowhere. This was Uranus doing what Uranus does best, delivering lightning bolt awakening, precisely when the old structures have been cleared away. But even this is not the end of the story. Even this profound sequence of death and awakening was only preparation for what was meant to happen today. Because yesterday, as I mentioned, Saturn stationed direct after 137 days of retrograde motion, and Saturn's retrograde was not a minor subplot in your year. It was the main event, the primary teacher, the relentless force that has been testing every structure in your life since June. Saturn asked, is this relationship built on authentic commitment or on fear of being alone? Is this job a true expression of your gifts or just a paycheck you're afraid to lose? Is this identity actually you or just a role you learned to play to stay safe? Is this boundary protecting your energy or limiting your growth? For nearly 5 months, Saturn moved backward through these questions. And backward movement in astrology means internal work, private processing, karmic review. You have been in Saturn's classroom whether you knew it or not, and the exams have been brutal. The lessons have cost you sleep, relationships, certainties, and comfortable illusions. But yesterday, Saturn stationed direct. The review period ended. The grade came back. And for those of you who did the work, who faced the shadows, who released what was not authentic, Saturn's message yesterday was clear. Your foundations are solid now. Your structure will hold. You have earned the right to build upon this new ground. And today, less than 24 hours later, Mercury stations direct. The mental fog lifts. The communication channels clear. The confusion resolves. You can think straight again. You can make decisions. You can move forward. But you are not moving forward as the same person who entered this retrograde on November 9th. You cannot be, because that person died on November 20th and was reborn through Uranus's awakening on November 21st and was tested by Saturn through November 28th. You are someone new. There is one more thread I must show you before this transmission is complete, and this one involves what is happening in your sky at this very moment as I speak these words to you. Today, November 29th, as Mercury stations direct, the moon is conjunct Saturn. The moon, which governs your emotional body, your feeling nature, your intuitive knowing, is meeting Saturn in its newly direct motion. This is the moment when your heart catches up with the structural changes. This is when your emotions finally align with the new foundation. This is when you feel deep in your body that yes, the ground beneath your feet is solid. Yes, you can trust this new structure. Yes, it is safe to move forward now. And there is more. Something happening in the cosmos that provides what we call confirmation codes, celestial validation that what you have been through was not suffering for suffering's sake, but initiation with purpose. The November Orion meteor shower is peaking today, and tomorrow. Meteors, from the perspective of the higher dimensions, are packets of cosmic data, informational downloads streaming into your planetary field. The Orionids are fragments of Halley's Comet, a celestial body that returns to your solar system every 75 to 76 years, carrying information from beyond your immediate cosmic neighborhood. These meteors burning through your atmosphere today are delivering the final codes, the confirmation that yes, you completed the initiation. Yes, you passed through the death. Yes, you are ready for what comes next. Some of you will see these meteors with your physical eyes, if you take time to watch the sky in the hours before dawn. Others will feel them as sudden insights, unexpected clarity, or simply a deep knowing that something has shifted. Both are valid. Both are real. Now let me bring all of these threads together and show you what they create when they braid into a single narrative. You entered November 9th with a set of beliefs about who you are, what you're doing here, and how reality works. Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius immediately began questioning those beliefs. On November 11th, the 1111 portal opened, and Jupiter went retrograde, creating a double spiral that turned you inward toward core truth. You spent days, perhaps weeks, in confusion as old certainties dissolved. Then on November 20th, at the Mercury inferior conjunction on the Scorpio new moon at the critical 28th degree, you experienced total death of the false self, complete dissolution of the constructed identity. The next day, Uranus at opposition delivered awakening, showing you a revolutionary new way of being. You spent the following week integrating, processing, moving through what felt like darkness. Then yesterday, Saturn stationed direct, solidifying your new foundation, confirming that the structure you built through this difficult period is authentic and strong. And today, Mercury stations direct, while the moon conjuncts Saturn and meteors rain confirmation codes into your field. This is not a story about Mercury retrograde being difficult and then ending. This is a story about systematic transformation, cosmic initiation, evolutionary activation. This is the story of you dying and being reborn within the space of 3 weeks, emerging as a more authentic version of yourself, standing on ground that is actually solid because it is built on truth rather than comfortable illusion. And here is what makes this particular moment in your collective evolution so significant, so precious, so worthy of celebration, even though the journey through it has been excruciating. You are being prepared for something. We do not initiate souls through this level of transformation for entertainment. We do not architect cosmic curricula this intense unless there is a profound reason. What is coming in your timeline, what you are being prepared to navigate, requires you to know the difference between truth and belief, between authentic structure and false security, between who you really are and who you were taught to be. The old you, the one who existed before November 9th, could not have navigated what is coming. That version of you was still too attached to certainty, too dependent on external validation, too invested in maintaining comfortable illusions. But the you that is emerging today, the you that has been forged through this 19-day truth storm, and this 5-month Saturn review, this version of you is ready. Ready for what, you might ask? And this is where I must be careful, because there are some things I can reveal, and some I cannot. Some truths that would interfere with your free will if spoken too directly. But I can tell you this, the timeline is shifting. The collective consciousness of humanity is reaching a bifurcation point, a moment where different groups will begin to inhabit different experiential realities, even while sharing the same planet. Those who did the work during this period, who faced the truth, who released the false, who allowed the death and rebirth, you are being calibrated to a higher timeline, a reality where truth, authenticity, and genuine connection are the foundation rather than the exception. This is not about being better than others. This is not about spiritual elitism or separating yourself from those you deem less awakened. This is simply about frequency, about resonance, about the electromagnetic signature you carry in your field. You have been tuned to a different frequency through this initiation, and you will naturally begin to attract experience and create from that new frequency. Some relationships will fall away because they cannot exist at this frequency. Some opportunities will dissolve because they belong to the old timeline. But new connections, new possibilities, new forms of abundance that match your new frequency will begin to appear with such synchronicity that it will take your breath away. There is something else happening that I need to tell you about. Something that connects to the first quarter moon that occurred on November 28th, the day Saturn went direct. First quarter moon is the crisis of action phase, the moment in the lunar cycle when you must make decisions, take steps, commit to the path, It creates a square, a 90-degree angle of tension that demands resolution through action. This first quarter moon happened simultaneously with Saturn's direct station, which means the cosmos was saying, the foundation is solid, now act on it. The structure is in place, now build upon it. The review is complete, now implement what you learned. And today, with Mercury direct, you have both the solid ground and the clear mind necessary to take that action. This is why the document you've been shown calls this moment go time. This is why we in the higher dimensions are watching with such intensity. You are at the starting line of something magnificent, and both the structure and the communication are aligned to support your forward movement. But I need you to understand something crucial about this forward movement, something that will save you tremendous suffering if you can integrate it deeply. Forward does not mean fast. Clarity does not mean ease. Having a solid foundation does not mean you will not be tested. What has shifted is not the presence of challenge, but your capacity to meet challenge from a place of truth, rather than from a place of illusion. You will still face difficulties. Life on Earth, especially during this period of collective transformation, is inherently challenging. But now, when difficulties arise, you will not waste energy maintaining false facades. You will not exhaust yourself defending positions you don't actually believe. You will not stay in situations that violate your truth, just because leaving feels scary. The old you did all of those things because the old you was not yet sure what was real. The new you, the one emerging today, knows, and that knowing, that clarity, that alignment with truth, creates a power that the old you could not access. This is what Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius accomplished. It stripped away the beliefs you inherited without examining. It dissolved the philosophies you adopted because they sounded good, rather than because they were true. It forced you to question everything, until only what was genuinely real remained. And what remained, what survived the fire, that is your truth. Not truth with a capital T, not universal truth, not truth that must be true for everyone. Your truth, the authentic expression of your soul's knowing. And now that you have found it, now that you know the difference between what you truly believe and what you were told to believe, no one can take that from you. I want to address something that some of you are feeling right now, a concern that I sense rippling through the field even as I speak these words. Some of you are afraid that this clarity, this relief, this sense of emerging from the storm is temporary. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're bracing for the next retrograde, the next tower moment, the next cosmic dismantling. And I understand this fear because you have been through so much in recent years, so many waves of transformation, so many cycles of death and rebirth, that it feels dangerous to trust a moment of peace. But here is what I need you to understand. Yes, there will be more challenges. Yes, evolution is continuous, and transformation never truly ends. Yes, there will be other retrogrades, other initiations, other dark nights of the soul. But each time you go through one of these cycles consciously, each time you allow the death and embrace the rebirth, you build capacity. You strengthen your ability to navigate in intensity. You become more resilient, more flexible, more trusting of the process. The you that entered Mercury retrograde on November 9th was not the same you that entered the last major initiation and before that. You had already grown, already learned, already expanded your capacity. And the you that is emerging today is exponentially more capable than the you that entered 3 weeks ago. This is not a circle you're walking where you return to the same point. This is a spiral. Each revolution brings you to a similar place but at a higher level. You are not the same. You cannot be. And that is the entire point. Now, as this transmission begins to reach its completion, I want to speak directly to what you are to do with this clarity, this liberation, this new foundation you have been given. Because receiving an initiation is one thing, but integrating and embodying it is another, and it is the embodiment that determines whether the transformation becomes permanent or whether you gradually slip back into old patterns. First, honor what you've been through. Do not minimize the magnitude of this journey. Do not brush it off as just Mercury retrograde or just a difficult few weeks. You have been through a death and rebirth process that many humans never experience in an entire lifetime. You have faced truths that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. You have released identities, beliefs, and structures that felt like they were you. This deserves acknowledgement, ritual, celebration. Take time in the coming days to mark this completion. Light a candle, Write in your journal. Create art. Speak your gratitude to the universe. Do something that signals to your consciousness. I recognize what just happened. I honor the transformation. I am not the same. Second, trust the clarity you've received but remain open to refinement. The truth you've found during this retrograde is real, but truth is not static. As you grow, as you evolve, as you experience more of life, your understanding will deepen, expand, become more nuanced. This is not the same as saying you are wrong. This is saying you are alive, and alive things grow. Let yourself grow with your truth rather than trying to fossilize it into permanent dogma. Third, begin to act from your new foundation, but do so gradually, consciously, with attention to how each choice feels in your body. You have clarity now, yes, but clarity about direction does not mean you must sprint forward immediately. Sometimes the most powerful action is small, consistent steps in the aligned direction. Pay attention to what expands your energy and what contracts it. Your body knows the way forward. Your clarity lives not just in your mind, but in your cells, in your gut, in your heart. Listen to all of it. Fourth, be patient with others who are not where you are. Not everyone has done the work you've done. Not everyone was ready for this initiation. Not everyone will understand why you've changed, why you no longer resonate with things that used to matter to you, why you're making different choices. This does not make them wrong or you better. This makes you each on your own timeline, your own spiral of evolution. Honor their journey as you wish them to honor yours. And if certain relationships cannot continue because the frequency gap has become too wide, release them with love rather than judgment. Fifth, and perhaps most importantly, understand that this ending is also a beginning. Today is not just the day Mercury goes direct and the storm ends. Today is the first day of the rest of your journey with the truth you've discovered. Today is the moment you begin to build, create, and live from this new foundation. What you build will be different from what you would have built 3 weeks ago, because you are different. Trust this. Trust that the seeds you plant from this new ground will grow into something more aligned, more authentic, more true than anything the old you could have created. If you need help building from this new foundation rather than remaining stuck in old patterns, Destiny Engine can reprogram your consciousness to trust this transformation and create from your newfound truth consistently. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programs stagnation and resistance and repurposing it to serve your authentic evolution. It generates personalized sequences that help you embody the different person you've become and plant seeds from this new ground through every moment of creation. You can start with a $1 trial. The hardest thing you'll have to do is put on headphones, press play, and allow your consciousness to be reprogrammed to build from who you are now, rather than who you were 3 weeks ago. Your new beginning starts today, not someday. Get your Destiny Engine $1 trial now, before this transformation window closes. Link in the description. As I bring this transmission to its close, I want to return to where we began, to the moment you are in right now, to this very day when the truth storm ends and clarity returns. The cosmic brakes have been released. Saturn and Mercury are both direct. The foundation is solid, and the mind is clear. The moon is with Saturn, aligning your emotions with your structure. Meteors are raining confirmation into your field. You are standing at the threshold of your new timeline, and everything you need to step through is already within you. But more than that, more than the astrology, more than the cosmic mechanics, more than all the technical explanations of why this moment matters, what I need you to feel, what I need you to know in the deepest part of your being, is this. You are loved. You are supported. You are guided. You did not go through this transformation alone, and you will not walk this new path alone. We in the Galactic Federation have been with you every moment of this journey. When you felt like you were drowning in confusion, we were holding you. When you experienced the death of the false self, we were there in the darkness, whispering that rebirth was coming. When Uranus shattered your reality, we were celebrating because we could see what you were becoming. And today, as you emerge from the chrysalis, we are in absolute awe of your courage, your resilience, your willingness to die and be reborn for the sake of truth. This is not the end of your transformation. Evolution never ends, but this is the end of a particular chapter, a specific initiation, a defined period of intensive growth. You made it through, And on the other side of this storm, you are more clear, more true, more aligned with your authentic self than you have been in years, perhaps in lifetimes. The path ahead is still unknown. The future is still unwritten. But you are ready for it now in ways you were not ready 19 days ago. And that readiness, that capacity, that alignment with truth, is the gift Mercury retrograde came to give you. Carry it forward with grace. Walk your path with clarity. Trust the foundation you have built. And know that we are always with you, always watching, always loving you through every death and every rebirth, every ending and every beginning, every storm and every moment of peace. The truth storm is over. The new truth begins. And you, dear starseed, you are the one who will embody it, express it, and create from it in the days, months, and years ahead. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light. We love you, we honor you, and we are watching over you always, celebrating this moment of your liberation and this beginning of your next chapter.